There is a feeling that has probably followed you for most of your adult life, even if you have never been able to name it precisely. The feeling that you are always just slightly behind. That by the time you arrive somewhere, a decision, an opportunity, a moment in your own life, the best version of it has already passed. That other people seem to move through their lives with a kind of ease and forward momentum that you have never quite been able to match, no matter how hard you work or how much you try to keep up. You feel like you're 5 steps behind, and no matter what you do, the gap never seems to close. Here is what you were never told about that feeling. It was not an accident. It was not a personality flaw or a lack of drive or evidence that you were built differently from the people who seem to have it figured out. It was engineered. The Matrix has one primary mechanism, and it is not force, and it is not fear, and it is not even deception in the obvious sense. It is distraction. The Matrix does not need to hold you down physically. It does not need to build walls around you or close doors in your face. All it needs to do is keep your attention occupied. Keep it busy. Keep it reactive. Keep it pointed at everything except the 5 steps directly ahead of you. And the result is identical to being held back, without any of the resistance that would make you aware something was happening. A person whose attention is constantly hijacked is a person who never gets ahead. Not because they lack ability, because they never have enough attention left over to see what is coming before it arrives. Think about what a typical day actually looks like from an attention standpoint. You wake up and within minutes, sometimes seconds, your attention has already been handed to something outside yourself. A notification, a headline, someone else's update about their life, a problem that arrived in your inbox overnight that now feels urgent, even though it was not urgent 8 hours ago when you went to sleep. By the time you have been awake for 30 minutes, your attention has already been distributed across a dozen different directions, and none of them were chosen. All of them were reactive. All of them were responses to things that arrived from outside you, pulling your focus toward them before you ever had the chance to direct it somewhere yourself. This is not a morning routine problem. This is the architecture of the Matrix made visible. Now here is the part that connects directly to the feeling of being 5 steps behind. The people who consistently seem to be in the right place at the right time, the ones whose lives appear to move with a kind of effortless forward momentum, who seem to anticipate opportunities before they fully materialize, who are somehow already positioned when the door opens. Those people are not smarter than you. They are not more talented. They are not luckier in any meaningful sense of the word. What they have, in almost every case, is protected attention. They are not 5 steps ahead because they ran faster. They are 5 steps ahead because they never let the Matrix point their attention backward or sideways, or at everything happening around them instead of in front of them. They decided, consciously or not, that their attention was the most valuable thing they possessed, and they stopped giving it away for free. So what does being 5 steps ahead actually look like in practice? Because it is not what most people imagine. It does not look like having a perfect plan, or a flawless strategy, or some special insight that other people do not have access to. It looks quieter than that. It looks like someone who, when they sit down at the beginning of a day, or a week, or a season, asks a simple question before doing anything else. Where am I actually trying to go? Not in a vague, general sense, but specifically. What is the next real thing I am moving toward? And what are the 5 steps between here and there? That question sounds simple, but it is almost never asked because the matrix fills every available moment with content, noise, and reactive demands that make the question feel impossible to sit with long enough to actually answer. Here is where the spiritual dimension of this becomes impossible to ignore. God has been trying to show you the next 5 steps, not as a dramatic revelation, not as a vision or a sign that arrived in obvious packaging, but as a quiet, persistent sense of direction that has been available to you in every moment. Your attention was not being held hostage by something else. The reason so many people miss the guidance they have been asking for is not that the guidance was never given. It is that the guidance was given in the frequency of stillness. And stillness has been the one thing the Matrix has worked hardest to make unavailable to you. Every notification, every piece of content, every reactive demand on your attention is a layer of noise placed between you and the signal that was always there. Think about the moments in your life when you have had the clearest sense of direction. Almost universally, those moments happened in quiet, on a long drive with no podcast playing, in the early morning before the day began, in the middle of a walk where your phone stayed in your pocket, in the moments when the noise of everything else fell away, long enough for something underneath it to become audible. Those moments were not accidents. They were not random gifts of clarity that arrived without reason. They were what happens when your attention is finally free from the Matrix's constant demands, free enough to receive what has been trying to reach you the whole time. The guidance was never absent. You were never without direction. You were simply rarely quiet enough, rarely attentive enough to the right things, to hear it clearly. Now let's talk about the feeling of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, because this is one of the most consistent ways the attention theft shows up in lived experience. You look back at a decision and think, if I had moved sooner, if I had seen that coming, if I had been paying attention at the right moment, everything would have been different. The opportunity was there. The door was open. But by the time your attention arrived at it, the moment had passed. That pattern is not evidence that you are cursed, or that timing is against you, or that you were simply not meant to have what you were reaching for. It is evidence that your attention was elsewhere when the signal arrived, pointed at something the Matrix had placed in front of you to keep you occupied. So here is the practical truth at the center of this message, and it is both simpler and more demanding than most people want it to be. Reclaiming your position, closing the 5-step gap, arriving at your own life before the best version of it has passed, does not require a new strategy or a new system or a new set of skills you do not currently have. It requires reclaiming your attention, not dramatically, not all at once, not by disconnecting from everything and living in silence, but intentionally, one decision at a time, one morning at a time, choosing to direct your attention before the Matrix directs it for you. Asking where you are going before responding to where everything else is pulling you. Here is what accepting this truth actually requires. Because the word acceptance is important here, and it deserves to be unpacked. Accepting the truth that your attention was stolen is not the same as blaming yourself for what it cost you. You were not weak for falling for it. You were not careless or irresponsible. You were operating inside a system specifically designed to capture and hold human attention, a system that has had decades and billions of dollars invested in becoming better at exactly that. The acceptance is not self-blame. The acceptance is this: I now see what has been happening. I now understand why I have felt 5 steps behind. And knowing this, I am no longer willing to let it continue operating the same way. That is the shift. That is the whole shift. So what are your 5 steps? Not in a general, aspirational sense, but specifically right now in the actual life you are living. What are the 5 concrete things that, if your attention were fully directed at them without interference, would move you meaningfully forward in the next season of your life? You probably already know what they are. Not because someone told you, but because in the quiet moments, the ones that break through despite the noise, they have been making themselves known. They have been nudging you, showing up in the back of your mind, returning every time you manage to get still enough to notice. The matrix has been working to keep you too busy to act on them. The question now is whether you are willing to protect your attention long enough to actually move. Here is something that will help make this concrete. The 5 steps do not all need to be visible before you start moving. You do not need to see the full staircase to take the first step. What the people who are consistently 5 steps ahead understand, that the people who are 5 steps behind do not, is that forward motion itself generates clarity. You do not think your way to the next 5 steps. You move your way there. You take the first step that your protected attention reveals. And the second step becomes visible only after you have taken it. The matrix keeps you frozen by convincing you that you need to see everything before you begin. You do not. This is the version of your life that becomes available when you reclaim your attention. Not a perfect life, not a life without difficulty or setback or seasons that require endurance, but a life where you are present for your own moments before they pass, where you arrive at opportunities while the door is still open, where the gap between where you are and where you are going closes, not because the distance got shorter, but because you finally stopped letting your attention be pointed everywhere except at it. That version of your life is not far away. It is one decision away. The decision to treat your attention as the sacred, finite, irreplaceable resource it actually is, and to stop giving it away to a system that has been profiting from it at your expense. You were never meant to spend your life 5 steps behind. You were not built for reaction. You were not designed to be perpetually late to your own moments, perpetually distracted from your own direction, perpetually arriving at the version of your life that was available after the best of it had already passed. You were built to move with intention, to see ahead, to position yourself before the moment arrives rather than responding after it has gone. That capacity has always been in you. The Matrix simply found a way to keep it occupied with everything except what it was meant for. Take it back. If this reached you the way it was meant to, write this where you can see it. I am taking my attention back. Type it in the comments. Not as a resolution you will forget by tomorrow. As a declaration you are making right now that the most valuable thing you possess is no longer available to the system that has been stealing it. And if you have not already, subscribe, because this story is still being told, one chapter at a time, and you are not meant to miss what comes next. Until the next one, awakened choosers.